Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what are you really? I mean, it's a huge question, right? It gets to the very heart of how we see the universe and our little spot in it. For centuries, we've basically been given two very different maps of reality. But what if both of those maps are just wrong? Let's explore a third path that, honestly, might just change how you see, well, everything.
So this is the fundamental dilemma. Are you, at the end of the day, just a biological machine, a really complex puppet whose strings are being pulled by the cold, hard laws of physics? Or are you something else entirely? A spirit, a soul, a ghost driving the machine of your body? This one question has split thinkers right down the middle, forcing us to choose between two totally extreme views of who we are.
And these two camps, they have names, physicalism and dualism. Physicalism says, look, everything, your thoughts, your feelings, your love of pizza, it can all be explained by particles and energy. Your mind is just what your brain does. But then you have dualism, which insists that the mind is fundamentally not physical. It's a separate kind of thing that somehow interacts with our brain. It's a clean split for sure, but also a deeply unsatisfying one.
And the reason it's so unsatisfying is that both of these old maps, they kind of lead to a dead end. They just fail to capture the richness and the sheer complexity of a universe that seems to be constantly creating brand new things out of old stuff.
I mean, think about it. Physicalism can't really explain what it feels like to be you. You know, that subjective experience of choosing one word over another or deciding what you're going to have for lunch. Dualism, on the other hand, just yanks the mind completely out of the evolutionary story, making it this weird exception that doesn't fit with anything else we know about biology.
What's really fascinating is that the biggest challenge to that purely physical bottom-up view, it actually came from science itself. The whole dream of reductionism, the idea that you could explain everything just by understanding its tiniest parts, that dream started to crack under the weight of its own discoveries.
In the 20th century, a series of absolutely stunning breakthroughs showed that the universe was not the predictable clockwork machine that we once thought it was. You had quantum mechanics revealing a fundamental fuzziness at the very heart of reality. Gödel proved that even the pure logic of math has its limits. And chaos theory showed us that for a lot of systems, like the weather, perfect prediction isn't just hard, it's impossible. The reductionist dream was over.
Okay, so if we're not just physical machines and we're not ghosts, what in the world are we? Well, this is where a third, much more powerful idea enters the story: emergence. It's a concept that resolves that old conflict by showing us how the universe literally builds new levels of reality.
Emergence is all about genuine novelty. It's the idea that when simple things combine in complex ways, they can create something with entirely new properties you just couldn't have predicted by looking at the individual pieces. The whole is truly, truly different from the sum of its parts. And this isn't magic, it's the creative engine of the cosmos.
But how does this actually work, right? How do these new realities with new powers just bubble up from lower levels? Well, the key is understanding that not all emergence is created equal.
Now, this is a really crucial distinction. On one side, you've got weak emergence. Think about the wetness of water. A single H2O molecule isn't wet, but you put a bunch of them together and you get wetness. It's cool, but it's still predictable from the underlying physics. But strong emergence, now that is the truly radical idea. Here, the new whole, like a living cell, gets its own causal powers. It can actually reach down and control the very molecules it's made of. The whole starts bossing around the parts. And this radical idea has a name: downward causation. This is the absolute key to strong emergence. It means that once a new whole, like a cell, an organism, or even an idea, comes into being, it gains real power. It can impose its own logic on its components, making them behave in ways they would never do on their own.
And hey, this isn't just some fringe concept. As the sociologist Donald Campbell put it way back in 1974, the rules of the whole system can actually dictate what happens to the parts. So the laws of biology, for instance, constrain what chemistry and physics can do inside a living thing. The needs of the whole organism come first.
This is a brilliant and simple way to picture it. The individual molecules in a wheel, they don't want to go in circles. But the structure and function of the wheel as a whole, its roundness, its motion, it constrains them. The whole forces the parts to conform to its logic. That right there is downward causation in a nutshell.
And once you really get this concept, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere. It's not some abstract philosophical trick. It is the fundamental organizing principle of reality, from software all the way up to societies.
Let's start in the digital world. In John Conway's famous Game of Life, a few incredibly simple rules about pixels on a grid give rise to these fantastically complex patterns. A structure like the glider emerges, and it moves across the screen with purpose. That pattern, the whole, is now exerting downward causation, telling the individual pixels they have to switch on or off for it to keep on existing. You see the exact same principle in nature. An ant colony is just a marvel of emergent intelligence. There's no CEO ant barking orders. Instead, a few simple rules for each ant create the colony's incredibly complex adaptive intelligence. The colony's need for survival, that's a higher-level goal, constrains the behavior of every individual ant, telling them to build or forage or defend the nest. And of course, the most profound example of all is us. We are the ultimate emergent phenomenon. You start with non-living atoms that organize into the incredible machinery of a living cell. Then those cells organize into tissues and organs, and the needs of the whole organism, like keeping your body temperature just right, exerts downward control on every single cell, making them all work together.
Even the things we build follow this pattern. A city isn't really planned from the top down, right? It grows organically. And yet, the city as a whole creates these emergent structures, like a financial district or a traffic grid, that then constrain the choices and behaviors of the very people who created it, influencing where we live, where we work, and how we get around.
So, here's the crucial takeaway. This isn't just about ants and cities. This principle of emergence takes us all the way up to the biggest questions we can possibly ask about who we are and where we're going.
The philosopher Samuel Alexander imagined reality as this amazing ladder of emergence. At the very bottom, you have the basic stuff, space-time. Out of that, matter emerged. From the complex organization of matter, life emerged. And from life, eventually mind, or consciousness. Each step is a brand new level of reality, with new rules and new powers. But notice that final question mark. The ladder doesn't stop with us.
And this brings us right back to our original question. Emergence gives us that third way. Consciousness isn't just brain activity, and it's not a ghost. It's a real, distinct, emergent property of the brain. Sure, it's dependent on the physical stuff, but it's not reducible to it. Your mind has its own causal powers. Your intentions and your decisions exert downward causation on the neurons in your brain.
So, if emergence is the engine of cosmic evolution, you gotta ask, what's next? Some thinkers speculate that our globally connected technology is basically the nervous system of a new, planet-sized intelligence, a global brain. Or maybe, as humanity becomes more and more integrated, we're forming a kind of superorganism. Or is the next level something we can't even begin to imagine yet?
And that is the ultimate thought to leave you with. The universe isn't just a static collection of things. It's a process of becoming. It's moved from matter to life and from life to mind. We are the current peak of that process, a kind of bridge between everything that came before and whatever is struggling to be born next. So the question isn't just what we are, but what are we a part of? What new level of reality is emerging right now through us?